What's going on, guys? I'm Kyle and welcome back to the channel. Now, I know it's been a while since I made a video, but I am back finally. I've been fairly busy this summer so far, been working a lot mostly. I've also went and got a new tattoo, as you guys can see. Maybe I'll show that off a little bit later. I also took a little vacation myself. Me and my friends went to Epic Universe, the new theme park down in Orlando, which was a lot of fun. I unfortunately didn't really take any pictures because we were way too busy just kind of, trying to deal with how to navigate a new park. We didn't want to miss anything, but it was a great experience. Super Nintendo World was way above my expectations. It actually, I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like I was in Mario. Like that's the best way to describe it. Was as though I was transported straight into Mario 64, and it's just it was the coolest thing ever. As a longtime fan of video games, mostly a lot of Nintendo things, as you can see by the controller wall behind me. It was a wonderful experience. I would definitely say, aside from the crowds, it definitely lives up to the hype. If you guys get a chance, I would highly recommend going. Enough yapping about theme parks. This is an anime figure channel, and we are here to open some anime figures. My backlog has been getting a little extensive just because I've been so busy lately, so I figured today we just do a nice, easy unboxing, knock down a couple things off my list here. I do have several boxes of merch from Ame, so we're gonna do probably a gigantic merch haul video next time around, which should be fun. I got a lot of cool things in there, but I'm sure you guys are just as eager to get these things out of the box as I am, so let's go ahead and get cracking with that. I figure the first little thing we'll start off here is I have an acrylic stand of Blanc from Nikkei Goddess of Victory. This is actually for my friend that I bought the Nikkei stands for back in my first video, so just buying each other little Nikkei things. It's cool, it's fun. A standard, run-of-the-mill acrylic stand. All right, so I figure we'll start small, work our way up. So our next thing that we are looking at is we have a Nendoroid of Ame from Needy Streamer Overload, Needy Girl Overdose, whichever one you want to call it. This is such a just fun, just absolutely unhinged game, and if you haven't gotten the chance to play this, I would highly recommend you do it. The whole inside of the box is covered in pixelated hiragana, which it says Daisuki. Okay, like I would assume like Daisuki, like I love you, like 'cause she comes with plenty of accessories as well as 3 different faceplates. Her normal, I guess, scowling, grumpy face, her happy face, as well as her, I guess, excited / zonked out face. She comes with a couple different arms and hands, her cell phone, her video game controller, which is clearly supposed to be a Sega Dreamcast controller, as well as a special cigarette. Her cigarette only goes in her right hand, despite it clearly being a left-handed one. But as I said, this is just such a fun game. My wife and I are pretty big fans of it, and I thought it would be fun to pick up the Ame Nendoroid. We have a couple more Needy Streamer Overload figures coming. I believe I'm definitely looking forward to the scale figure of Ame that they just announced at OneFest last month, so I'll probably pick that up when it comes out. Overall, this is, more or less your standard Nendoroid, but if you're a fan of the series, then it definitely makes sense to pick this one up. So our next figure that we're opening is one that I've personally been looking forward to for quite some time, and it is the Kill la Kill Ryuuko Matoi Kamui Senketsu version, made by Phat Company. This figure originally released back in 2014 for a whopping 8,200 yen. It went up as a re-release recently for nearly double that. So starting off looking at the box, I believe this is just a recreation of the original box. Kill la Kill logo on the side, nice window in the front. I do really like the tiny window next to the Senketsu eye on top of the box. That's definitely a nice touch. I realize they could have left it blank, but I think the little X-shaped hole, or the little X-shaped window in the box, just adds to the theming that much more, and it's definitely a nice touch. The instructions say that if you plan on leaving the figure set up for a long time, then to put the support piece here, which I think it's cool how they give you the optional support piece. Like, I know it's still, it's a clear piece, which is generally the most acceptable form of support rods for a figure. But like I said, I appreciate the fact that it is removable for small periods of time, and her feet don't line up. Is this a joke? Am I a joke to you? Alright, so her feet are a little bit tight of a fit. They need to be spread apart just a little bit further. So we're going to put her in without the support rod piece, let her legs kind of, form to the distance of the rocks, and then I'll replace it in the future. Fairly simple assembly. The hardest part was honestly just trying to squeeze the sword in between her hand. I believe this is my first Phat Company figure, and I know they're generally one of the, the okay brands. And for a $110 figure, I would say this is definitely worth it. The base, I know it's just a regular, just rock base, but there's something about like the color and the shape of it that just screams Trigger art style, and that's really nice. I like how there's a good distinction between the shiny latex of her boots and the, the matte black of the rest of the outfit. I like how it comes with, 2 different scissor blades. Facial expression is very nice. There's nice shading on the face, a very subtle blush to her cheeks, nothing overdone. The eye decals are very nice. I love the effort that they put in with the paint job of trying to, recreate the different materials of her suit, and that's definitely a nice touch. Overall, I'm very happy to have finally picked this figure up. This I considered one of my, Grail level figures for the longest time. Not that they're really that rare or anything before the re-release, but they were definitely expensive. Kill la Kill figures are one of those things that the aftermarket for is just absolutely absurd, price-wise anyway. And I'm really happy to see them finally start re-releasing figures, as well as just releasing new figures in general. And maybe that'll kind of like even the Kill la Kill figure market out a little bit by introducing some more supply. That way we're not paying $400 for a $100 figure. But on that note, I'm really glad that I got this for the price that I did. Not that I would have been disappointed paying more money for it, but it's always nice to get something, brand new for retail price. So our last figure for the day, I've been waiting to open for quite some time. It's probably the oldest figure in my backlog. I just really never had, like a good occasion to open it. I've recorded other videos while this thing has been sitting off in the corner, and I just, never really felt the need to unbox it, and that's kind of the problem with starting this anime figure YouTube, is I feel like I have this obligation to myself to only unbox the figures on camera and when I feel that the time is right, which I realize that they're my figures, it's my YouTube channel, I can do whatever I want at any time, but I just want to share that initial like excitement or feeling of taking something out of the box and looking at it for the first time. I want to share that feeling with everybody, but you guys know what I mean. I'm just starting to ramble at this point, so let's go ahead and bust this puppy out. So our last figure of the day is Gengjut, illustrated by Tai Tai and manufactured by Solarain. So first look at the box. We have our nice little window in the front here giving us a view of Gengjut herself. So for our bonuses, you either have, it's literally like a credit card sized illustration. She also comes with an acrylic stand of a little chibi version of her with the base, which is cute. The base is fairly simple, but there's no sort of alignment pegs or anything, so I assume the figure just kind of rests on top of there. She also comes with a nice little, fluffy carpet type base that a lot of spicier figures tend to come with, so that you can put her on that instead of the wooden floor. Alright, so with this figure all set up, I'm honestly a lot more impressed with it than I originally thought I would be. Everything about this figure is nearly perfect. The sculpting, the color choice, just the composition of, the piece itself. The first thing I want to point out is the choice of colors for the figure itself. It's a very appealing combination of colors to the eye. Everything on this thing is shaded. There's nothing that has been left flat on this thing other than the metallic pieces, which, they're metallic, they reflect, they're going to have their own, depth and color difference to them, which the metal on this thing is so well done that I honestly thought they were metal at first. Like the base, I'm not sure, what to call it, of the paintbrush here, the metallic qualities, the shininess on that thing is very realistic. The hair clips, the gold trim on the tassels, they all look excellent. Sticking the paintbrush in between the grippers made me a little bit nervous. I also really like the color gradient on her gloves and her stockings. The way that they fade from, that pure white to that subtle, light bluish gray to give it that depth to the figure. I really like the sculpt on the bunny ears themselves. I feel like it's different than your normal, most of the time when you get a bunny figure, the ears are either straight up and down or you have one up and one folded over. And I feel like it's just, it's a nice change of pace to see something that's just slightly different from that. I also really like the little puffs down at the base of her ears. That's definitely something that you don't see all the time on bunny figures. I like that they kept the tail gray, matching her ears and her hair. It would be a little strange if they made her tail just white, which for some reason they seem to do on a lot of bunny figures, is just a white tail. The body sculpt on this thing is just absurd. Her thighs are absolutely massive. The way that they, kind of squish over on themselves, and the way that her undergarments are cutting into the sides of it. Very nice choice of detail. The cutout in the front of her shirt is also very deliberate and appealing, giving you a nice view of her assets. Definitely very well thought out. The face sculpt on this thing is on point as well, with her nose not being, your normal anime sculpt nose, and her mouth actually being quite detailed. If you look closely, it's not a sticker and it is actually sculpted. Definitely gives a more realistic and serene feel to the expression on her face. The eye decals are very nice as well. The legs and feet are definitely intended to be a focus point of this figure, having a great attention to detail to them, as well as a great view overall. Another detail that I really appreciate is that on the underside of her, where she lays flat on the floor, I don't know what I expected. I just kind of expected like a flat, unpainted, undetailed base, and it is actually completely the opposite of that. They literally took, her hair, her clothes, all of that, and it's all bunched up and pressed flat against her, which I think would be a very nice detail if you were to put her on maybe like a glass display shelf or something, so that you could see that underneath. I do have several glass cabinets throughout my house that I keep figures in, so maybe she'll go in one of those. But I feel as though, it'd be a waste to not use this nice, wooden floor or even the fuzzy base that she comes with. This is my first Solarain figure, and I'm definitely very impressed with it. I would absolutely buy another figure from them if they're all, this type of quality. All right, and that's about it for this time, guys. It was nice to be able to finally, sit down and make another video and unbox a few figures. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Next time around, we're going to be doing a nice big merch haul. I got 2 boxes of stuff from Ame sitting over here waiting, as well as, just a couple other random things that I've ordered, as well as presents from friends and stuff like that. So we got manga, plushies, stickers, acrylic stands, prize figures, just a whole amalgamation of things. So you guys are just going to have to tune in next time and see what I got in store for you. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.